A huge area of research within the motor control literature is that of attentional focus. And if you're a coach, you're probably already aware of this, but even just as a regular golfer, this is something well worth understanding and really relates to what we're thinking when we're playing. So attentional focus is all about where you're positioning your focus while you're actually executing the shot. And it came about from the researcher, Professor Gabrielle Wolf. And while Gabrielle Wolf was a younger, earlier researcher, she was also learning to windsurf. And while she was going through the usual kind of lesson where she was asked to position her feet in a certain manner, get the angle of her knee right, position her weight in this way, she kept falling in and falling in and falling in, and it was exhausting. So after a couple of hours, she thought, now there's got to be an easier way. I'm just going to try and stay on my feet and position the sail. So she lost all this focus on where her body part should be and just tried to position the sail. And of course, her body parts started to self-organise in a way which was balanced and also more fitting the task of staying on the board and positioning the sail. So having had this success, Gabrielle Wolf went about this whole element of research which has now been corroborated many times with hundreds of papers. And what she did is she split attentional focus initially into two kind of different areas. One is external focus, where you're focused on something outside of your body and your movement. So that might be thinking about the target or thinking about the club. And then there's internal focus, which is when you're really thinking about keeping your knee in a certain position or focused on your body parts. And what they found is that when we're focusing on external situations, the club or the target, obviously there's much less thought going on and it's more task related. The movement is a lot more automatic and the body parts just self-organise. This tends to be much more effective for learning. You'll learn quicker, and also has been proven to be much more robust under pressure. Whereas of course thinking about our body parts involves a lot of thinking, a lot of cognitive load, and oftentimes isn't related to the task. The obvious drawback with having external focus is that when we're trying to work on something within our body structure, as much as thinking about the motion of the club or the target may help you change this a little bit, it's not really going to have a great effect. But the bizarre thing about the research in attentional focus is that there is actually a difference between thinking about trying to keep your knee still or trying to keep your trousers still. So what the research has found is that when we really think about keeping our knee still, as well as overly thinking the motion, we also recruit more muscular activity than is necessary. So the whole thing becomes restrained. Whereas when we're thinking about keeping our trousers still, it's a much more natural area of focus, and only the muscular activity that is necessary gets recruited. Critics of the attentional focus literature would say that the whole kind of viewpoint is overly dichotic, i.e. it's too black and white. It's not, why should we have an external or an internal loci of focus? And sure enough, I can remember having fantastic rounds of golf with an external focus where I'm aware of the club, or on the best days even just thinking about the ball flight. But I've also had good days when I'm thinking about body parts. So, I mean, it's an amazing field of research which has proven time and time again to have a real difference between external and internal focus. I suppose that the answer is probably a little bit more fluid than that, but it's definitely worth being aware when you're on the course. Are you thinking about controlling the motion of the club, or are you completely immersed in trying to keep your knee still or your elbow moving in a certain way, which of course is less connected and linked to the task of hitting a ball in the correct direction.